whilst I was at Chateau Chevaux back at the beginning of our journey, I went just along to a local event with my father and his partner, and really didn't have any sort of expectations or anything. We hadn't not long arrived in the south, and I was sitting trying to find a shade from the sun and found a leaflet that had been dropped on the floor. Now this gave me a grand idea. What I discovered, having spoken to a few people after I read this leaflet, is that in France the support for children and adults with disabilities is rubbish at best. And what it means is a lot of families end up having to do a lot of fundraising on behalf of the people, because the French medical system only give you limited resources, and you're left to fend for yourself in the rest. Now, the fete was being done as a fundraiser for Association Violet. Now, I went to find out who Violet was, and the president of the charity is actually Violet's grandmother. She had a wee chat with me about what Association Violet's all about and what they do and why. Hi, so I am at Chateau Chevaux in France. I came here today with my dad. He said we should go to this local fete, and I found a leaflet that told me about this lovely lady's charity, Association Violet. And it was a great little local story, and I really liked it, and I'd like to support it when I do Challenge Wanaka next year. So tell us all about it.
Okay, so we have an association in France where we raise money for French children. The money is given to the families for things that normally aren't not sponsored, what's the word? Oh dear,
funded.
So funded, not funded by the government. So there'd be things like if one of the children has to go to Spain to have rehabilitation, then it's all funded, but the accommodation for the parents and travelling to get there, etc., is not funded. So we give them money for that as much as we can. There's a few other charities that will come together and we all give them a little bit. And so we've got 9 children at the moment that we're supporting, and we've given 5,000 euros away last year and 3,000 so far this year. And we've got our fete today, which some of that money will go to a little girl called Melinda, and she's 14. She has a brain tumour, and as she's getting older she can't get up the stairs, and her mum takes her to the swimming pool to have her to get her washed and stuff. So we're going to help pay some money towards getting her a wet room downstairs. So that's one of the things that we're doing for this year.
So from what I gather, the French health system doesn't fund everything that somebody who's born with a disability needs. They just do the basics. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's where you come in.
Yeah. Yeah, there's things like one of the little boys we had, he's got a wheelchair, and they don't fund the adaptation of the wheelchair. They just, here's your standard wheelchair and you have to fit into it. So what they then do, they have to pay the extra money to get it fitted into their shape. And then also there's a little boy called Gabba, and he's got cerebral.
So wait a minute, they have an off-the-shelf wheelchair, and then they have to sort of like do a bodge fit job.
Yeah, well they do. Yeah,
that's awful.
They used to do.
I know how awful that is, because they gave me a wheelchair like that right at the beginning.
Yeah, and not one size fits all.
No, it does not.
No,
mine was custom made, $17,000 to make mine.
Yeah,
custom fit,
yeah.
Measured to make.
I think they used to do it, and then they did some cut some money out, and then they decided that they wouldn't do it. There was a big article in the paper about it, that some child was trying to raise lots of money to have it adapted. So
I can't believe that. That's disgusting.
No, I know, it's heartbreaking.
That's like
really,
saying to someone, here's a pair of shoes, use them till you die.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I suppose if they get older they must change them, but they don't adapt them for the different pressure points and things that they need, so.
Dear, right. So then Violet. So why Violet? Why is the association called Violet?
Violet's Association Violet was named after my granddaughter Violet. She's 7 now, and she's got cerebral palsy, dystonia, epilepsy, and she's a twin. She's got her brother Henry, who doesn't have any disabilities. Most of what she had was at birth. So we've been raising money for her up until 2019. And we had an anonymous benefactor, and they has now agreed to give Violet money every year, and so we've continued the association, and we raise money for children in France. So all French children, all with disabilities, for lifelong disabilities, and we've been doing that for the last 3 years.
Nice. Oh, cool. How much funding is there around for children like Violet if they lived in France?
There's not a lot of funding. There's quite a few organisations now associations that come together and raise money. Yeah, there's a few associations in France that have now appeared, and they raise money for disabled children in France. I think the government funding has been cut quite a lot in the last 5 or 10 years, so associations like ours are the ones that are really important, because they help with things that aren't funded and also things that don't fit into a box.
Yeah.
So there's if one of our families that we support, the child has to go into hospital to have a liver operation, and he was in Paris, and it's really expensive in Paris, and so her mum had to stay in a hotel, which she funded herself, but then she could only afford to eat one small meal a day. So the next time that she went up to Paris, we gave them some money to help with that sort of thing, and that would never be funded by the government.
Yeah, it's the same in New Zealand.
Yeah, and probably in the UK as well. There's lots of things that, because Violet lives in the UK, so it's a lot better system there, but there are still so many things that aren't funded, and everything that is funded, there's 23 forms to fill in, and you have to fight and then appeal, and then you have to do all that. So this is really for the families that say, you know, we need this money, and then we say, okay, we've got it and we can give it to you, or we'll raise it hopefully, and then we can give it to you.
I love the fact that you have set off to do something for a family member, but then it's turned into something bigger, and you didn't just stop there. You've now decided to help others as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to set off on a fundraising journey to see if I can raise you some funds on my way to Challenge Wanaka, which is on the 17th of February 2024. So we'll have to stay in contact, and I'll let you know how we're getting on.
Yeah, no, that would be absolutely excellent, and it's because of people like you that we can do what we do, so thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
So what I want to do is I like to support good causes that are small, that could do with everybody's support and that sort of thing. I really like to make a difference with little tiny things. So I'm going to put up a page to do some fundraising for Association Violet for Challenge Wanaka next February. So watch this space, and like I often say, every single cent counts. So whatever you can give, Association Violet will put that towards funding disabled access and mobility aids for disabled children in rural France. Thank you.